Thank you for a kind introduction. I appreciate it. All right. I see right here. Okay. Thank you, all of you.
Thank you so much for joining us. Congresswoman Salazar.
My pleasure.
I think that last time we saw each other, I was testifying in front of the Subcommittee for Western Hemisphere, which you chair.
Right.
This is a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So,
is that bad?
So you have been, as Sarah mentioned, a longtime champion for immigration reform, and the urgency for immigration reform mounts, and the tragedy in Minneapolis, I think, has put that front and center. And through that time, you have stayed firm in arguing for a balanced approach, one that incorporates enforcement along with a legal basis for many migrants to be able to contribute to American communities. What is the receptivity of such an approach in Congress today? And can you tell us specifically about the Dignity Act and its prospects in Congress?
Thank you very much to Marcela and to the Brookings Institute for putting together this event. Such an important and intelligent place, thinking important topics. So I salute you. I congratulate you, and I really mean it from the bottom of my heart, gratitude for being able to have a platform where we can explain to the country, both parties, the independents, everybody, the Americans, how important immigration is. And as you said, even now more than ever. I wrote something called the Dignity Act, which is a piece of legislation, is the only piece of legislation in the United States Congress right now, both houses, Senate and the House of Representatives, because unfortunately, immigration is a very toxic topic. And people are very afraid, people meaning members of Congress are very concerned and afraid to talk about it because that could harm their political career. That has nothing to do with the fact that for the last 40 years, we have not been able to put together an immigration reform that we needed. Mm-hmm. The immigration system in this country is completely broken, whether it's the legal or the illegal, E-Verify, everything that has to do with immigration. So I just had the idea of writing the Dignity Act. And what does it basically say? It says, is the art of the possible, which is politics, right? Mm-hmm. At this hour in the United States Congress, under the Trump administration, we, the Republicans in charge, we can definitely pass a bill that says that if you have been here for more than 5 years, you meaning someone who came in illegally, more than 5 years, and you have not broken the law, you do not have a criminal record, and you may have American children, you may be working, you can come out of the shadows. You don't have to hide anymore. And you will pay a fine of $7,000 over the next 7 years. You will have to then give 1% of your salaries to the Treasury. We're going to then create 2 pots of money so the taxpayers will not have to pay for the dignity legislation. Very important to know that it will be zero to the taxpayers. Then you will, E-Verify will be mandatory. The border security will be codified into law, border that is secured right now. And then you're going to be able to, as the illegal, the undocumented, you will be able to go home for Christmas, go bury your mom, be able to buy a home, come back, work, pay the fine and the 1%, and then be able to buy a house. Credit card, mm-hmm. and contribute within the economy and become a customer and become someone that consumes and at the same time produces. Why do I think this is important? This bill is important because of 3 reasons. It's national security, is the economy, and is immigration. National security. We need to know who your neighbor is. Because we don't want Tren de Aragua, do we? No, we don't. And we don't want the MS-13s, and we don't want we do not want illegals who are murderers. No, we do not want to do that. Those need to leave. But the ones who do not have a criminal record should be protected because they are helping our economy. So get to know your neighbor. Number 2, the economy. And I'll promise I'll shut up because then, I won't let you speak. The economy. We have 3 sectors, construction, hospitality, and agricultural, right? And healthcare, and the butcheries, and the slaughterhouses, and the greenhouses, and everything that has to do with intense labor. who is going to clean the toilets and who's going to go pick up the jalapeno peppers or the tomatoes in Miami? Who is going to do that? The Americans, of course, that some natives could do that, but most Americans choose not to participate in those sectors. That's the economy. If we want to continue working and growing as the economy and the BBB, all the money that we're pouring into the economy, well, someone has to work, right? That's national security. And then at the end, immigration. Let's create modern laws in a modern time. That's basically the dignity legislation.
We'll get a chance to talk a bit about the economic impact because I think that is huge. But let's move to a topic, the topic of interior enforcement.
Okay.
Immigration policy affects South Florida disproportionately, right? With over 40% of residents in Miami-Dade born outside of the U.S., that's compared to 14% in the rest of the country. 1 in 2 identify as Latinos. And there's over 1 million unauthorized migrants that reside in Florida, of which more than 70% work, right? Given this population, how is migration enforcement playing out on the ground in South Florida? How is it affecting communities?
In my community, District 27, the heart of the city of Miami, where you have the Venezuelans and the Central Americans and the Mexicans, I have 17 different nationalities. First generation Cuban American, born in Miami. My parents are political refugees. I'm the founder of Univision, one of the most important television stations in the country. So I know exactly who I'm talking about. Not necessarily people that live in my district, but I'm talking about the whole country. The Mexicans in the Southwest, the Puerto Ricans and the Dominicans and the Jamaicans in the Northeast. We're talking about the whole nation is full of people that are going to be benefiting from this legislation. The impact. Kristi Noem, the head of Homeland Security, said that Congress needs to change the laws. ICE is following instructions. ICE is following directives. We need to change those. We need to change legislation so then ICE and then the president will be able to say, now we have a new set of laws. That's why we need to concentrate in Congress and writing new legislation so we can change not only the narrative, reality. That's why I'm doing this. But I'm going to tell you something. I am sure that President Trump, who dared to do what he did with Maduro, which was glorious, and who now is sending the message to Iran, and who did what he did in the Middle East. He is a guy that comes from construction and hospitality. He knows that we need those hands. So I think in the very near future, during this year, we will see movement. Hopefully will be the Dignity Act, but something will happen with immigration. I have no doubt that he's going to be the guy who's going to be for immigration, what Lincoln was for slavery and Reagan was for communism.
On this issue of interior enforcement, one issue that is discretionary is who we're going after. And as you know, 70% of people currently detained by ICE have no criminal records. Do you think that interior enforcement should be focused on those with criminal records?
I have said it clearly. The president said that he's going to go after the bad hombres. The bad hombres are the bad guys with papers or without papers. Want to get them out. The Tren de Aragua, the murderers, the rapists. Of course. No, we need to hone in on and dedicate the money that we allocated through the BBB on ICE to go look for those people. I do not believe or agree that it's good for anybody to go after the cleaning lady just because she has been illegal for the last 22 years. Someone gave her a job. Someone gave her a job. That's why she stayed. Why don't we have E-Verify as mandatory? You see, reality is that there are no saints in either party. The Dems and the Republicans and the Independents. Let's all come together. Let's be realistic. Let's be transparent. Let's put an end to this story and let's do the best we can, which is to give dignity. I'm not talking about citizenship. I'm not talking about a path to citizenship because that has been the biggest hurdle that this community has had for the last 25 years. Give them dignity, a dignified life in the promised land. For them to be able to go home for Christmas and come back. And I serve them I speak their language. And if you go to Rosa or to Pedro or to Pepe and you say, hey, Pepe, look, I'm going to give you dignities. It's called the dignity status. How long you been on? I've been on legal for 22 years. Good. So what about if I can let you come out of the shadows? You can put your money in a bank account and have a little Visa credit card and buy a car. And I give you the dignity, and you will never be able to be, American. No problem, no problem. Yes, I want it. Wait, where do I sign? That's what I'm doing.
And let's go to the topic of economics. The economic literature reinforces what you've often said, that this is not a fixed pie, that migrants who work here actually expand the economy. They complement American workers and create jobs for native workers. How is the current policy affecting your district, your state that relies on these labor-intensive industries? What does it mean when people can't go to work, are too afraid to take care of the elderly?
And it distorts the market also. It distorts the market because then the guy who owns the construction company knows that he can pay Pepe less than he can pay John. And that's not good either, because John then feels that he has been displaced by an immigrant. No, now we're gonna create a level playing field where everybody, Pepe, Mohammed, everybody is going to make the same amount of money, whatever the marketplace pays for that job. And then everyone can show up Monday morning with no fear, and everyone will have a driver's license. You see, it regulates everything. And according to your stats, this type of program will create trillions of dollars in economic growth. If we want to continue being the number one country in the world, we should, because we do have good principles. We should have a very strong economy. And these people that I want to bring out of the shadows will contribute to that reality. And so answering your question, it's such common sense to be able to bring some peace and tranquility to the marketplace, so the marketplace can do its best.
No, makes sense.
And thank you for putting together those numbers that we have used extensively.
No, and the numbers are compelling. I think it was Florida Policy Institute estimated of the current enforcement law would cost Florida like $12 billion. How does the Dignity Act specifically either both confront that and make sure that this cost doesn't happen, given the current enforcement laws in Florida?
Well, that's why we are talking to the White House, and I'm talking to Mike Johnson, who's been very receptive. The GOP, the GOP conference understands. My colleagues, my 218 colleagues right now in the United States Congress get it. It's just the politics always gets on the way, because there are groups out there, not Brookings, groups out there saying, oh, you're in favor of amnesty. What does that mean? Why don't we define what amnesty means? For me, amnesty is what they have right now, that the illegals or the undocumented do not pay for schools, for roads, or for hospitals. They don't. But under the dignity, they're going to come out of the shadows. They're going to have the dignity status, and they will have to pay for their own health insurance. All right. And they no federal programs. Neither do they really have them right now, because very few, if any, the overwhelming majority of the illegals do not have Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. They don't have any programs. They don't even have a bank account where they can deposit whatever they earn. So right there, it's the White House. We're working with them, and we're explaining that this is good for everybody, including Florida. But I'm thinking Florida and the whole nation.
Let's move a little bit into foreign policy. As you know, Latin American countries absorbed the bulk of the Venezuelan crisis. Over 80% of the Venezuelans who were displaced ended up in a few countries, and they provided legal status to over 4.5 million migrants. Those migrants got to restart their lives, and that also meant that they didn't often continue their journey here. You have been a proponent forever of a very robust relationship with Latin America. What should be our relationship when it comes to migration? What should we be asking the region for? How should we be collaborating?
Listen, now that's a great question. If you have solid countries with good governance, and you have good governments who are allies of the United States, no one would want to leave. What Venezuela wanted to leave Venezuela? What Hondurans? I mean, who wants to leave their country? Everybody was to be able to raise their children at home. Is just the economic situation. I've introduced, now that you say that, I've introduced the Americas Act, which is another piece of legislation thanks to Senator Cassidy from Louisiana. He was the one who put it together, which basically what we're saying to Latin America is, why don't you behave well, little corruption, good governance, cleanliness, and do not steal the elections, behave well when it comes to politics. And then you will be able to join us in the USMCA and be a business partner of the United States. That's what I think that we should start fostering. Trump is thinking about that. But right now, with what happened with Venezuela, I think that we're experiencing like a new business model, a new blueprint, a groundbreaking new model of foreign policy when it comes to the Western Hemisphere, where you stabilize, where you restore, and where you transition. And it's a great message. I think it's going to be a very good message for other countries that do have democracy, but whomever is in charge is not behaving really well and it's not serving the people. You know what I mean, right? It's not serving the people. I think everyone is going to sort of clean up their game because they know that the United States is watching and wants them to behave well when it comes to good governance. So I think that we're at the beginning of a very interesting era for the Western Hemisphere. Thank God.
Let me ask a question that I know has come through many of our online viewers, which is your bill has actually gained a lot of momentum. It has 41 co-sponsors, yet things seem very difficult in Congress. What is the path toward this becoming law? What do you foresee in 2026? What's your call to action to everyone in Congress, including your colleagues, Republican colleagues?
President Trump. Trump will see that this is needed. He tweeted it a few hours ago, I think a couple of days ago. He said in that long, extensive interview that he gave to the New York Times, I'm not sure if the audience has realized that one of the quotes he gave to the journalist was that he knew that there was a need for comprehensive immigration reform, and that he was open to it, and that he was going to work with the Dems. Yes, that's exactly what we're waiting for. So I'm very optimistic. Trump is an intelligent guy. He's a business guy, regardless of what anybody thinks of what's happening at the White House. Let's look at the results. Let's look at what he can do. And one of the things he can definitely change is the course of the immigration history that we have lived for the last 40 years. I'm very optimistic. And then, and then we have this bill, and I have to give all the credit to Veronica Escobar from Texas, who has been my co-sponsor. She has been very brave within her party, within the Democratic Party. She has encountered some harsh criticism because it does not include path to citizenship. So what? It gives a new hope to those people who right now are dying of fear, of anxiety, and who cannot contribute to the American economy. So kudos and my deepest appreciation to Veronica Escobar.
For all of our sake, we're glad that somebody with your perseverance is on this case and continuing to push
Hey, I was a journalist, remember? There wasn't journalism.
I know we're going to open it up, but I wanted to ask one last question or just ask you to give a message to the Latino community, which, the polling numbers show that people are living in fear. And I know this is something that is personal for you and I.
It is.
And they're not going to church, they're not going to work. The level of absenteeism across Latino children in the state has skyrocketed. What is your message to them? And what does dignity mean for this community?
My message to them is that I feel them. And that's exactly why I am doing this, because I know that there are millions and millions of people that I do not know, and maybe they do not know that the dignity law was written, but that I feel them, and I know that no human being should live with no criminal record, with no bad intentions, only with good intentions to have a better life for themselves and for their American children, who the circumstances push them to have to come illegally, which they should have not done, but that it is what it is, that they are contributing to one of the sectors that I mentioned, that I get them, and that there is hope, that I know that they're praying to the same God that we all pray to, and that he is listening, and that I will not stop until I see that my Republican Party has understood that this is the right thing to do, this is the Christian thing to do, this is the American thing to do, regardless of political affiliation. This is who we are, a good nation. So we got to do dignifying things for the people who live here on this territory. That's my message.
Thank you, Congresswoman.
Of course.